believe we have a lot of people joining from all over the world today, so I was giving it a bit of leeway. Since I'm guessing they're in different time zones. But I'll get going and they can join afterwards. For the people who are here from Contair and who haven't seen me yet, I am Henny, a social media coach here in Willow. As usual, I think the rest has already met me somewhere. If you have any questions, please stop me. But I think today we all joined just to find out what to post about job vacancies on LinkedIn. It was a highly requested topic, so I'm very glad I get to do it today. I've split today's webinar into two big chunks. First of all is just my introduction as to why LinkedIn is so important for hiring. And then the second and third part will be more zoomed in on one side, so the real do's and don'ts of a job vacancy. And on the other side, I want to zoom out and then look at how to actually implement this job vacancy into the rest of your strategy. Because most people tend to look at it as something separate to do on top of your marketing, whereas it's much easier just to implement it in the entire thing. So to start, again, if you don't know me, or maybe you don't realize, I really like numbers. So I spent the past couple days reading through some of LinkedIn's biggest numbers, and I found that truly 75% of people who are looking for a job tell the interviewer that they actually use LinkedIn to find said job, not only to actually find the vacancy itself, but to get a better idea of what the company is like, what the culture is like, how many people there are. So the bulk of information found about a company for anyone looking for a new job is found through LinkedIn, which I find pretty interesting, of course. But then what I realized when looking the other way around, like, okay, how do people actually make these job vacancy posts? I see a lot of people building their strategy for the month or their content calendar for the month, and outside of that also plan all the vacancies. Whereas technically a vacancy is just another part of your content strategy. It's a post that reflects on both the fact that you're growing and who you are as a company, so it should just be implemented into the entire thing. But I will get back on that later. The first part of the webinar, I want to zoom in to the clear don'ts of a vacancy. So that's just a very general idea of what it should not really look like and what you should be doing. The second part of the actual do's is more extra tips that you can also implement. Some of them are pretty logical, others will be as soon as I explain them. But so the actual do's are on top of what you should generally be doing. Now, first thing, please do not just copy paste your entire job description from your website or the LinkedIn job board or whichever third party you use into your LinkedIn caption. It is way too long, and usually most of it can actually be ignored. So what I advise you to do is just make a summary of what the actual job is. So of course, job title, what the actual responsibilities will be. If your company offers any benefits like extra vacation time, a car, and whatever else, ones that are unique compared to other companies, list those as well. If they're just the general benefits, it's fine just to leave them on the job board or on the website. Don't drag them into your caption. But do remember to also add a part of what kind of person are you looking for? And that is also something I'm going to go deeper on in a second. I found some Dutch examples. I'm going to go over them for the non-Dutch speakers. But these are simply showing like, this is what we're offering, and a list, a part that says, okay, what are you going to be responsible for if you join? Some extra information as to what the job will mostly look like. Sometimes you have a pretty general title, so a bit more explanation as just exactly what parts will you be covering. Then, unfortunately, this is something I see happen quite often, is that the job title or the actual vacancy itself is hidden somewhere along the post, that it takes me a couple of lines to realize exactly what post what position the vacancy is for. So my tip here is use a strong hook that clearly states it's a vacancy. It can be the word vacancy, it can be we're hiring, and so on and so forth. But make sure that the job title is within the first 2 lines of the caption. Depending on the length of your hook, I sometimes do or do not count that as the first line. If it's just hire or the word vacancy, I don't count that. If it's an actual sentence, then do count that. So top 2 somewhere, like these ones. So just vacancy, looking for a new freelancer. Will you be my new colleague? This I would count as the first line already. Since it's longer, this I probably wouldn't. And here it's just in the title, it's vacancy alerts for a logistics coordinator. But again, keep it on top. The rest is extra information, but if we don't instantly know which vacancy we're looking at, why bother reading the rest? Here it happened again. So the title here was job vacancy, and then second line here says we're looking for a self-employed real estate agent. Same thing here. This is actually the first line. Here we find it in the second line. It sounds bizarre, but it really works. So just stick to the first 2 lines. Something else I see is that people tend to use text-only posts. Nothing wrong with them. I implement them from time to time in my own marketing, but just don't try to do it with a job vacancy. If you do not have a clear visual, then add a link and leave the thumbnail visible so that at least you have something visual to add to the entire bunch of texts, but preferably add some kind of picture that shows you're hiring. It can be a very flashy one that says job alert. It can be more zoomed in, like the real estate agency here did, with their logo actually like in the picture, and then vacancy on top. Any kind of picture that also clearly shows you are posting a vacancy, so not a random picture, but make it clear. And then please, I think it's obvious, but you'd still be surprised, don't just post when you're looking to hire someone. I know sometimes the vacancy suddenly opens up, you can't plan for that, but make sure that your marketing always continues, doesn't depend on the vacancies. And if you do suddenly have a vacancy, just implement it into the actual strategy. If you work with like a Willow strategy, I would recommend changing out one of your Thursday posts to become a vacancy post or something. So just slide it into the actual strategy. And why do I say this? If we only post vacancies when they appear or vacancies alone and no other posts, the data shows that candidates actually look at your profile a lot. It's their first or primary source of information on the company. They don't even bother checking the website all that often because a website is very easily window dressed. So just go straight to LinkedIn, see how is it going there. So the posts they see before and after you post a vacancy are equally as important as the actual vacancy or the benefits of the job. And then lastly, I think this is my last slide for my do's and don'ts. Try to keep an eye out for all the engagement that your job post is getting. If you repost the same post a couple of times, look at it generally, but if people are engaging in the comments, of course, naturally engage with them. If you have a paid profile, you can see who has actually shared your post. If it's been sent somewhere, keep following up with people who show engagement. Either they're interested in the job or they know someone who might be interested. So really keep an eye out for how the post is doing. If you don't have the paid version of LinkedIn, keep an eye out, like where is my post being seen mostly, like demographics wise. If the company is in Brussels and my post is mostly seen in Antwerp, ask yourself, would that matter if they're in Antwerp? And if it does, why aren't people in Brussels seeing it as much? So definitely play with all the engagement that you're getting. And then the actual do's. This is my favorite part because these are easy to implement, but at the same time, do actually make a very big change, mostly visually. I know most of us love using Canva. I do too. If you check out my LinkedIn profile, it's filled with Canva hacks. But try to steer clear of the very general "we are hiring" kind of templates and make sure they really look on brand. The more on brand the post looks, the more it looks like it's part of the entire strategy, like it's not just happened all of a sudden. It actually increases the way that we perceive the value of the vacancy. It's something weird, it's something interesting, but if it looks on brand, it really looks as if the entire company has all the control, everything's under control, no weird things are happening. It just looks a lot better from the outside, even if the inside of the company is absolute chaos. So just try to really stick to your own branding. Then I think it's obvious, but a lot of people forget this step, is make sure that you're adding contact information and a clear call to action to your vacancy. What do you want people to do after reading this? Do they need to deliver their CV to you? Do they need to email something? Would you prefer a call? Do you need them to read the entire vacancy on another website? Add an email address, add a phone number, add a link to the entire website. Just make it very clear what people should do if they're interested. It would be very sad if someone reads a vacancy, thinks this is 100% me, and then has no clue who to contact. Then you're just losing leads. And then the one that's most undervalued, and I think makes a huge, huge difference when reading a vacancy, is the part that describes who we're looking for. So what kind of person are we looking for? This really reflects back on the company itself. If I read something that says we are looking for an enthusiastic team player who works well with others, but at the same time can take up their own responsibilities, very good time management wise, I hear great benefits maybe for me, but I also hear that this company probably is generally very enthusiastic because they're looking for someone else enthusiastic. They have great time management skills because they're giving everyone the freedom to actually manage the time themselves. This could indicate a more like laid back kind of approach. So you're not really looking at micromanagers. So these small things reflect back on the company that is offering the vacancy. So use this part to really indirectly market yourself some more. This doesn't have to be like extremely cheesy, obviously marketing the company, but just think about this. Think about whatever you're writing here reflects back. So if there's something about the company that you, because you work there, think is extremely unique or would be something really nice to know, add it in there. You work there, you would know. So I have said up until now, the zoomed out version, what to do in your job vacancies, what to leave out. And I've mentioned multiple times that it should be part of your entire marketing strategy. Hence the picture, your job vacancy is just one of the many people in this posts. If you look at it this way, it becomes one of many, but at the same time, I like to tell people, think about your LinkedIn profile as some kind of store, especially if we're trying to attract people to fill a vacancy. The goal would be to get them inside the store. As soon as they're through the door, we've got them. That means they've shown engagement, they've sent out our CV, we've done what we needed to in marketing. The problem is sometimes that, let's say our mannequin right here is our job vacancy. On its own, like here, it could look really pretty, but then what does the rest look like? So when posting a vacancy, think about how we can actually window dress our entire profile to look more appealing to new people. What I mean by this is at least 3 to 4 posts before posting the vacancy, start posting things that will be highly relevant for someone new to know. We know that they're going to check out the profile, so we might as well post a couple things that would be very interesting for them to already find as soon as they open the account. The further back they have to go, the more non-ideal posts they might find. Let's put it like that. So it can be anything from what kind of services do we offer, highlighting the team some more, some other posts like that. But always think of it like this. And at the same time, afterwards, you would get the same idea. The longer the post or the vacancy is on LinkedIn, the more posts should follow, assuming you have a consistent content strategy. So even 3 to 4 posts after the vacancy, as long as it's open, should also kind of follow this pattern. Like, what other things would be interesting to see as a new candidate? So more clearly, what to post before your vacancy actually goes live. Really think about the question, what's relevant to know? Or the other side, if you work in the company, what do I enjoy about this company so much? Why am I still working here after 1 year, 2 years, 10 years? Write those down and start implementing them into posts. This can be very subtle or very obvious, that's up to you. But think about company culture. Post something about a team building. If you guys went out to dinner, maybe you guys do drinks every 4 weeks or something. What the company does, you can literally make a post that says, just lists your services again. I highly recommend that post, by the way. It's good to do once in a while. If you don't feel like listing them, make more of like a case study. Post a little more frequent on the case studies, just to show like this was the problem we had, this is how we solved it, like our solution. To also indirectly show people how you think and how you work, which especially if you're looking for more of an IT or development type of or filling that kind of vacancy, then that's definitely good for those people to see. Some thought leadership. Again, this puts you in the spot as the expert, which we usually see thought leadership's posts around like the C-suite, the CEO, COO, somewhere there. So that already puts you on the map as an expert, but at the same time, it also shows how do you think inside the company. Are you willing to have a different opinion than the rest of the world and still go for it in an innovative way, of course. So those are also nice ones to post. You have a vacancy running, do a post about the CEO explaining a certain topic or his or her opinion on a certain topic. That already reflects really well towards your candidates. Any company wins. Did we reach a new milestone on LinkedIn, new follower amount? Did we get a big deal? Are you collaborating with different partners? Do you have new partnership? Anything like that. Any big or small company win, highlight it. If you have the time or if you have the room to make some kind of day in the life, if you're looking for a colleague, for example, a second coach, I would be making videos that say like day in the life of a social media coach. Doesn't have to be directly because we're hiring a new coach. It's also entertaining for the rest of the world to watch. But that also gives a nice idea what our life in Willow looks like. The last one I know is harder to do because most people say, well, I can't walk around filming myself all day. Either do it in a caption, giving like a small timetable of what your day usually looks like. It can be a picture of a coffee mug next to a pair of like fluffy socks, indicating that you work from home and that you actually wear like very fluffy socks all day. It doesn't have to be like an entire video, but it's a very nice one to also add. Things you should try to post after a job vacancy. So we've done the first 3 or 4 before the vacancy went live. Now we've posted the vacancy, we're getting traction. Again, this depends on how long the vacancy is running. If you post it today and tomorrow you have 18 candidates listed up and 3 of them already look very promising, go back to your regular schedule, don't change too much. If the vacancy stays open longer than expected, keep repeating this process over and over, not too intensely, but keep thinking like, okay, as long as this is open and we're actively marketing this vacancy, people will be checking out our profile more often than not, especially looking at our company culture. So continue the rhythm like usual, of course, even if we don't get the ideal candidate right away, keep posting. If, again, you're using the Willow structure, twice a week, keep going, educational, non-educational, keep up. I think here I just explained that, yeah, people will be looking at it longer, but always keep that in mind. Keep in mind that as long, especially if you're boosting a vacancy, so if you're doing any kind of paid ads on the vacancy, your target audience shifts slightly from your regular client to the people you're attracting. So just keep that in mind, but at the same time, don't change your schedule so much that your normal audience is now confused who you're marketing to. So just implement it here and there. Things you can also include: testimonials from employees. Again, don't make this too obvious, as in posting a job vacancy and then the post after that being a testimonial from an employee. Leave like one post in between. But it's always a nice one. Just a small video of an employee. Maybe they've been there for a couple of years. Ask them, what do you enjoy most about your job? Or what's the one thing you wouldn't exchange for anything else in the world? Or something along that line. Of course, always celebrate new hires. Even if you're still have a vacancy open or you're looking for multiple people for the same vacancy, still celebrate them. If it's again, I'm going to use the example as a coach. Say Willow is hiring two new coaches, but the world doesn't know that. They just see a vacancy of a marketing coach. They've already hired one, but still want a second. It is completely fine to already celebrate the fact that you found a new social media coach. In the last line, then just add, if you're still interested, we are still looking for another one. Or make it clear that you're not just looking for one. The reason I say this is if you've met my colleague Kjell, this happened to us around the same time. I think we applied about with a week difference of one another, and he got hired. The post came out, and for a second I was confused because I always thought I was doing very well in my rounds, and then suddenly they announced that Kjell is a marketing coach, so I was kind of confused what was happening. I reached out to the HR, it was completely fine, but that just made me realize, like, okay, if you just added that in the bottom line, that would have made a big difference to me. That's why I'm saying that. Also, but do this more subtly, show some benefits of working at your company. If you get a car or something, instead of making a post that literally says like the car waiting for a new employee, which would also be funny, do something that it kind of features the car without putting it too close, especially if your logo's on it. Put it in a picture somewhere. Make it clear that you have multiple cars with the logos on it, and kind of hint at this is our company cars or company fleet or something. Again, spread these out though. I'm going to go back to this for a second. Spread these out, meaning that, again, try to keep the rhythm of one educational, one non-educational. If the vacancy is open for a while, so especially after the vacancy has been posted, either do one educational post, one kind of reflecting on the vacancy, or even leave another post in between. So 2 to 3 posts in between, or hinting, like, don't make it too obvious. The world does not only revolve around our vacancy, unfortunately. But then the question arises, like, how much or how often can I post my job vacancy? It might be urgent. It might be a job vacancy that's open for longer. How often do you repeat that post? So generally, if we're looking at the best time on LinkedIn, everyone I've taught that if you need to know the peak moments on LinkedIn, question, when do I have time to go get a coffee in the office? That's around 10, around noon, and around 3. And then the most ideal days is between Tuesday and Thursday. That's what I've always taught. Now for job vacancies, this differs slightly because usually during the weekend, we tend to spend more time considering should we leave our job or not. We suddenly have room to think about what do we want our life to be, especially if you had like a horrible week beforehand and you're really starting to think like, yeah, I need a new job. This process happens during the weekend, and then from Monday to Wednesday, there is a bigger likelihood if you post then that the post will be seen longer, because we're on LinkedIn from like Monday to Friday, will be seen longer. Plus, it takes a couple days for people to reply or find the guts to actually reply. So if you post something on Thursday, either they have to already send you something by Friday, or it's going to take another week. It's going to be Monday or Tuesday at best. So the most ideal time comparing all of this would be Tuesday morning between 8 and 10 somewhere. If you have multiple vacancies running, I think I saw someone in here from a recruitment firm. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you have multiples open, definitely try a Monday as well and just make an overview of which new vacancies are coming that week, like jobs of the week on Monday. If you have multiples, that does tend to work very well, especially if people are used to coming to you for any kind of recruitment. Post it on the Monday. For the people in here who have the occasional vacancy or are looking but aren't a recruitment firm, stick to Tuesday somewhere. Like, usually if it's the rare occasion of a vacancy, Mondays don't do so well. Only recruitment has one up here and there it actually works. Then how often should you repeat a vacancy? It's honestly up to you, also depending on how urgent it is. But I would always recommend leave at least 2 to 3 posts in between every vacancy post so that it doesn't just look like you're posting your vacancy back to back the entire time. If you need it to be shared more often, use your personal profiles. You'd be surprised if you just tweak your caption a little bit to sound like you asking your network, like, hey, we're expanding, we're looking for this person. Do you know someone? How well that works. So instead of just posting it more and more on the company page, use personal profiles, and especially the ones from the department you're looking for. If we're looking for a new coach, for example, I would be posting it because there's a bigger likelihood that I have more people in marketing or in coaching in my network than maybe my developer colleague does, and vice versa. This is what it would look like in Willow. So this would be someone who posts twice a week. Normally, I would do educational on Tuesday and non-educational on Thursday, but for this case, because we did somewhere around 10, I think I did 11:30, sorry. Pretend this is somewhere between 8 and 10 for a second. On a Tuesday, we're posting vacancy. Naturally, we're posting on Thursday again. Then ideally, I would recommend either doing a full week again and then posting the job vacancy. If you need it faster, you could do it on Thursday, but then make it more of like a reminder or a benefit, like these are the benefits you get, something that if it disappears into the weekend, that people show lower engagement than expected, it wouldn't be such a bad thing. That we're focusing more on just reminding them like, hey, there is a vacancy, than actually announcing there is a vacancy. So just hinting back, if that makes any sense. If not, again, please stop me. But normally 3 posts, and again, or easier put, just 2 weeks after the first post, as long as there are posts in between. Now, if you post once a week, again, I would recommend waiting even 3 weeks, just again to get those 2 posts in between. If you post once a week, I would leave 2 posts just because it takes an entire week for a new post to come out, so it will never really feel repetitive. As to where you post twice a week and you're only like leaving 1 whole week in between, people see you more often, meaning that there is also a bigger chance that your engagement lasts longer. People see your posts longer than when you post once a week. So if you then add the job vacancy too quickly, people are really going to start feeling like, I've seen this post before, like I'm sure of it, like this is the 2nd or 4th time, depending on how much they're on LinkedIn, I've seen this post appear. That's why I say 3. I don't say leave 3 posts in between just to annoy you. Actually, some thought went into that. So this is how I would schedule it. Again, if, for example, say that tomorrow I decide to fall off my stairs, break both my legs and both my arms, even though I could technically still talk, and I'll be out of coaching, Willow needs to find a replacement as soon as possible. I would do this is a very urgent case, but anyways, job vacancy on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, at least have 1 colleague share about it, maybe here as well, have a colleague share, and then post it again on Thursday. Trying to get some posts in between, but if it's really urgent, just make sure the message goes as wide as possible. So just start asking, I heard some static, was that a question? I will take that as a no. If it's a very urgent case, just try to get the message as far out and as quickly out as possible by using all the colleagues. Make them share it. Do ask them to make sure that if you post it on a personal profile, I'll show an example in a second, that your caption sounds different than it does in the original vacancy. This one is truly targeted towards making the announcement on the company page that you are hiring someone, that you have a job vacancy running. Personal profiles are more targeted towards the owner of the profile asking their network for help. So make sure it does sound a little different. That was this one again. So lastly, I got a couple of case studies. I have a post from both like a general company page and someone who did it through its personal profile, just to show you the difference. These are in Dutch. I will be translating them while we go along. So we start with a very clear hook on top. It says new freelance gig, just to clearly state like what is this post about. Especially if you do not post this often, giving it a clear title like this also tells people, like, even with like the emojis on the side, a lot of people say it's ChatGPT, but it clearly shows that it's different from what you usually post. So it actually already helps to show like, okay, this is not my usual content, but I also kind of need to pay attention here. So clear hook, then adding the name of the actual job title within the first two lines, which they did here perfectly. So we're looking for a freelance HR consultant at interim, so an interim freelancer. Then they added a summary of the actual job description. What are they expected to do inside that job? Because HR consultant is pretty broad. What exactly will you be doing? They're adding a part who they're looking for. If you're looking for, there's just something that I'm reading here. The first line here says we're looking for a lot of experience within a certain department. If your job vacancy isn't filling fast enough, try removing that line. It opens you up to a bit more risk of having people, or lower the number, of having people that don't maybe have the full 10 years of experience, but you might find a 5-year experience with enough will to learn. It's one of those numbers that usually scares a lot of people off. I know we do it because we really want that senior, but that is one of the A/B tests that usually show that if you lower that number or change it, you do see a big intake in candidates. So who we're looking for. Practical details here, because it's a temporary position. It's clear it's 10 months. Then you'd start ASAP. Where you need to be, how long is it? Is it full-time? Is it whatever? This would also be the place to include if you need a driver license or something, speak certain languages, just any practical details. And then, of course, all the contact info, email address. I think I have a picture of the next one. Email address, phone number, and all of that. Here, you could also consider putting your practical info into your picture as well. I showed you that you could take a picture that's on brand to put alongside your vacancy. You can add in the email address or the phone number. Only do the email address if it's not something super difficult or super crazy, because you can't copy paste anything from a picture. So just make sure if you're putting it in the picture, it's easy just to type. If you just look at it, you can easily type it. If it's a lot of numbers, a lot of dashes, don't do this. Or add something that says send your CV to the email above or below, depending on which platform you're posting. But you can also just add this in the picture. I'll quickly drink some water. Then for the example of doing it through your personal profile, quick shout out, the hashtags are not necessary. This person really likes using hashtags in his marketing all over, but feel free to just make these regular titles. They do not need to be hashtags. Again, he started it with, hey network, clearly asking your network for something. Job title is within the first 2 lines, so clearly asking for a new head of marketing. Description of the actual job, looking for a head of marketing for marketing strategies along Belgium, Netherlands, and France. You'll be working and cross-working with a couple teams, really working to expand Busy some more. Your responsibilities, what do they need you to do? Some strategic leadership, demand generation, building our brand, product positioning. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. Who are they looking for, or what do they need the candidate to have? Here again, they're showing like a minimum of 3 years of experience. If you were looking for someone with a certain degree, so a developer or something, either add in you need a degree in this or this, but also add in or have the equivalent amount in experience. That also makes a very big difference whether the post does well or not. So what we're looking for, again, reflects back on the company. So here they clearly just said in bullet points what the person needs to be. Here I really do recommend like try to slide in a little bit of culture, reflect it back on the company. It's the one chance where you don't get frowned upon if you kind of implement the very nice benefits of the company as well. And then clear call to action. So this one does not have a phone number nor an email address, but just the entire vacancy there. I do recommend doing this in this way if you're using personal profiles, just because I'm guessing this is the head of sales. I do not think the head of sales will be doing any of the interviews. So if you're using all of the colleagues, make sure to actually either send them to a website or make it very clear who to contact, because if you're not clear enough, they will still be sending you DMs asking if they can still apply, if it's still open. So clearly either send them to a website or even tag the HR manager who's actually doing the vacancy. Those were all of my slides. Any questions from what I've said? Any concerns? Okay. Again, feel free to stop me if there are any questions. Or anyone who has a vacancy running they have questions about, more than willing to pull it up and take a look now that we're in the call anyways. Okay, you're very welcome. If there are no more questions, I will be in this call for another 1.5 hours. In case anyone does have a question, like feel free to just pop back in. But if you don't have any questions, then please enjoy your day. Have some fun at work today, and you'll find the recording on the website as soon as I've made it. Okay. Thanks, guys.